Hey, what's up you guys? It's Cody back here with another video. Today in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys my 4th edition WWE Encyclopedia Autograph collection in its entirety. I've gotten a lot of good autos in this book since I started collecting signatures in this encyclopedia. I have a lot in my 2nd and 3rd editions as well, but this one is like my main project now. So I'm going to show you guys all the autos I got in here and where I got them. Starting right off the bat, I have Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, also known as the Brooklyn Brawler. Got this signed at the Gathering 2022 at the Hilton University Place Hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ahmed Johnson, got this at the Gathering 2023 in Charlotte. Al Snow, got this one at the Gathering 2024 in Charlotte. Alberto Del Rio, got this signed at WrestleCade 2024 in Winston-Salem. Aleister Black, met him at WrestleCade 2021. Alicia Fox, met her at WrestleCade 2023. Alundra Blaze, got this done at the Gathering this year in Charlotte. I was actually 2 tables down from Alundra Blaze as a guest at this year's Gathering. Andrade, met him at WrestleCade 2023. Connor and Victor, the Ascension, met them at WrestleCade 2021, along with this guy, Austin Aries. The Barbarian, met him at the Gathering 2023. Barry Windham, met him in March of this year at an AML wrestling show in Lexington, North Carolina, at one of the high schools there. Bill DeMott, met him at WrestleCade 2022 or 2021, one of the two of those. Billy Gunn, got this signed January 25th of this year at AML Wrestling at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Bobby Lashley, got this at WWE World last April during WrestleMania 40 weekend in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, also known as the Brainbusters, got Tully Blanchard to sign it this year at the Gathering in Charlotte, and I got Arn Anderson to sign it at an AML wrestling show last year. Braun Strowman, met him at WrestleCade 2021. The Brian Kendrick, met him at Icons of Wrestling December 16th, 2023 at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Fun fact, I was actually a guest at that show as well. Jerry Briscoe, met him at the Gathering 2023. Brooke Adams, also known as Miss Tessmacher, met Brooke at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa, Florida. The Brooklyn Brawler, got this signed at the Gathering 2022. Brutus Beefcake, got this signed at an AML wrestling show last year in Winston-Salem. Bull Buchanan, met him at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Bull Nakano, met her at WrestleCade last year. Byron Saxton, got him outside of Greensboro Coliseum on May 16th of this year before Friday Night SmackDown in Greensboro, North Carolina. Cameron, met her, again, I was a guest at Icons of Wrestling December 16th, 2023. She was there as well. Super nice lady. Candice Michelle, met her at WrestleCade 2022. That was the second time I met Candice Michelle. Carlito, met him for the first time at the first ever well, no, it wasn't the first time I met him, but I met him at the first ever FWE show at the State Fairgrounds in Raleigh at the Holshouser building. I'll be getting Carmella to sign this 2 weeks from Saturday at WrestleCade. Cedric Alexander, one of my boys, got him to sign this at the United Pro Wrestling show May 10th of this year in New Bern, North Carolina. Cesaro, a.k.a. Claudio Castagnoli, met him at WrestleCade 2022. Chavo Guerrero, met him at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa. Chelsea Green, met her and got this signed at WrestleCade 2021. Chris Masters, met him along with Carlito and a few others at the first ever FWE show in Raleigh. Primo from the Colognes, met him last year at WrestleCade in Winston-Salem. Cowboy Bob Orton, got him to sign this at WrestleCon last year in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Curtis Axel, met him last year at WrestleCade in Winston-Salem. Dana Brooke, met her at WrestleCon in Philadelphia. Danny Burch, met him June 16th or 17th at AML Wrestling at Triad Stage in Greensboro, North Carolina back in 2023. Dangerous Danny Davis, met him at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Danny Doring, met him at the Icons of Wrestling block party at the ECW Arena during WrestleMania weekend. Danny Spivey, met him at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Darren Young, got him to sign this at Masters of Ring Entertainment's last show they did, June 11th, 2022 at a baseball field in High Point, North Carolina. David Hart Smith, aka Davey Boy Smith Jr., met him at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa. Dawn Marie, met her at Icons of Wrestling December 16th, 2023 at the ECW Arena in Philly. Dean Malenko, met him last year at the Gathering in Charlotte. Super nice guy. D'Lo Brown, got him to sign this year at the Gathering in Charlotte. Joint the Clown, aka Brooklyn Brawler, got him to sign this at the Gathering 2022. Dolph Ziggler, now known as Nick Nemeth, met him for the second time at AML Wrestling in April of last year at West Iredell High School in Statesville, North Carolina. Dominic Dijakovic, met him last September at AML Wrestling in Eden, North Carolina. Drew McIntyre, got him to sign this outside of a WWE SmackDown taping at PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina a couple years ago. EC3, met him at the first FWE show in Raleigh. Elias, met him at WrestleCon in Philadelphia last year. Ember Moon, now known as Athena in AEW, met her at WrestleCade 2022 for the second time. Emma, aka Tennille Dashwood, met her at WrestleCon in Philadelphia last year. Enzo Amore, met him at East Rowan High School August 25th of last year for an AML wrestling event. There's Brooke Adams on Extreme Expose. Fandango, met him at WrestleCade 2021. The Queen of Extreme, Francine, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Frankie Kazarian, met him at WrestleCade 2024. Gail Kim, got this signed at WrestleCade 2021. Gangrel, met him at the Gathering 2023. George South, I honestly forgot which show I got this book signed at, because I see George South at literally every show I go to. The Godfather, got this signed at the Gathering 2023. Henry and Phineas Godwin, got them to sign this last year at the Gathering as part of my birthday present. The Great Khali, met him at WrestleCade last year. The Great Suzuki, met him at the Gathering this year in Charlotte. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, met him June 30th of last year at an AML wrestling show at the Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Harvey Whippleman, got this signed at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Mosh and Thrasher, the Headbangers, met them at the Gathering 2023. Heath Slater, got this signed at the Gathering 2022. Brooklyn Brawler on the Heenan family page. Heidi Lee Morgan, met her last year at the Gathering. Hornswoggle, met him at the first FWE show in Raleigh back in 2022. The Hurricane, Shane Helms, met him outside of PNC Arena before a SmackDown taping in 2022. Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics, met them at WrestleCade 2021. Jacqueline, met her at The Gathering 2022. Jackson Riker, met him at the first FWE show in Raleigh. Jazz, met her March 21st of 2021 at the Jewels of Wrestling show at Firestar Pro Wrestling in Greensboro, North Carolina. Jean-Pierre Lafitte, also known as PCO, met him at WrestleCade 2021. Jeff Jarrett, met him at WrestleCade 2021 or 2022. Jerry Lynn, met him at the Gathering last year. Jillian Hall, got this signed for free at ASW's Bash and Beckley 5 on June 7th of this year in Beckley, West Virginia. Jinder Mahal, met him at WrestleCade last year. John Morrison, met him at WrestleCade 2022. Johnny Parisi, got this signed at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Johnny Rods, got him at the Gathering in Charlotte this year. JoJo, met her last year at WrestleCade. Super sweet lady. If you guys ever get the chance to meet JoJo, don't pass it up. Judy Martin, met her at the Gathering last year. The Jumping Bomb Angels, Norio Tatino and Itsuki Yamazaki, met them at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Casey Catanzaro, aka Katana Chance, met her March 18th of last year outside of PNC Arena in Raleigh before Monday Night Raw. Kalisto, met him at United Pro Wrestling on September 1st of last year in Smithfield, North Carolina. Kane, met him in April of this year at AML Wrestling in Statesville, North Carolina. Kaden Carter, met her with Katana Chance outside of PNC Arena in Raleigh last March. Kelly, got this signed at WrestleCade last year. Ken Patera, met him at the Gathering this year in Charlotte. Jim Brunzell and B. Brian Blair, the Killer Bees, met them at the Gathering 2023. Kim Chi, aka Brooklyn Brawler, met him at the Gathering 2022. Kofi Kingston, met him outside of PNC Arena in Raleigh before SmackDown. Coco Beware, met him at the Gathering last year. Crystal Marshall, met her at WrestleCade last year. Kurt Angle, got this signed at WrestleCade 2021. Rob Conway and Sylvain Grenier on La Resistance. Sylvain Grenier I met out after the first FWE show in Raleigh. Rob Conway I met this year at the Gathering. Shout out to my friend Joe Matthews from Puppet Master Promotions up in New York. I actually am a Puppet Master Promotions client for conventions. Lana, met her at WrestleCade 2023. Larry Zbyszko, met him at the Gathering 2023. Leilani Kai, super sweet lady, met her at the Gathering last year. Lillian Garcia, got her to sign at WrestleCade 2022. Lindsay Dorado, got this signed at WrestleCade 2021. Kalisto on the Lucha Dragons. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, met them at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa, Florida. Manu, met him for free at the Icons of Wrestling block party in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania last April. Mark Marrow, met him at WrestleCade 2021. Maria Kanellis, met her at WrestleCon in Dallas, Texas in 2022. Marina Shafir, met her at WrestleCade 2023. Marty Jannetty, met him last year in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at WrestleCon. Matt Riddle, met him at Nerd Bombers February 11th of last year in Greensboro, North Carolina for a meet and greet. Maven, got this signed at the Gathering 2023. Melina, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Mercedes Martinez, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Mia Yim, now known as Mi Chin, got her to sign this outside of a WWE SmackDown taping in Raleigh, North Carolina a couple years ago. Mickey James, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Mike Kanellis, aka Mike Bennett, got this signed at WrestleCon in Tampa in 2021. Mike McGurk, met her at the Gathering in Charlotte last year. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase got this signed at the Gathering 2022. Miss Kitty, got her to sign this at the Gathering 2022. The Miz got him to sign this outside of Greensboro Coliseum back on May 16th. Molly Holly, met her at the Gathering 2021. Mr. Kennedy, met him at Masters of Ring Entertainment's show June 11th of 2022 at the High Point Ballpark. Muhammad Hassan, met him at WrestleCon last year in Philadelphia. Mustafa Ali, met him at AML Wrestling with Hacksaw Jim Duggan June 30th of last year. Buddy Murphy, met him at AML Wrestling in October 2021 in Gastonia, North Carolina. You guys, I'm so excited. This coming Saturday, November 15th, I'm getting Natalia to sign this. Natty's doing her book signing tour in Greensboro, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm booked on a show that night. So it's going to be a great day. Next, I have Nunzio. Met Nunzio at WrestleCon 2024 in Philadelphia. Tommy Rich, met him at the Gathering 2023. Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express, met him at the Gathering 2023. Tully Blanchard got this signed at the Gathering last year. The One Man Gang, met him at the Gathering in Charlotte this year. Zaya Brookside on the NXT page got this at WrestleCon in Philadelphia last year. Paul Ellering, met him at the Gathering 2022. Paul London, met him at WrestleCade 2023. Paul Roma, met him at the Gathering 2022. Perry Saturn, met him in June of this year at an May of this year at an AML Wrestling show in Winston-Salem. Let's see. Ranjan Singh, met him at WrestleCade last year. He was appearing with Kali. He was really nice. Riddick Moss, got him to sign this at WrestleCade last year. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, met him at Masters of Ring Entertainment June 11th, 2022. Rob Conway, got him to sign this at the Gathering this year in Charlotte. Ronnie Garvin, met him at ASW's Bash and Beckley 5 June 7th of this year in Beckley, West Virginia. R-Truth got this signed outside of PNC Arena in Raleigh March 18th of last year. Ruby Riot, aka Ruby Soho, met her at WrestleCon in Dallas, Texas in 2022. Sabu, met him at WrestleCade last year. So glad I got this autograph when I did. Sami Zayn, met him outside of PNC Arena March 18th of last year. Samu, met him at WrestleCon last year in Philadelphia. So excited to get Santino Marella to sign this book in 2.5 weeks. Savio Vega, met him at the Gathering last year in Charlotte. Scott Steiner, met him at Masters of Ring Entertainment June 11th of 2022 in High Point. Sergeant Slaughter, met him at an AML Wrestling show in 2023. Shannon Moore, met him at WrestleCade 2021. Shayna Baszler, got this outside of PNC Arena before a SmackDown taping a couple years ago. Shelton Benjamin, got this at WrestleCade 2024. Psycho Sid, got him last year at the Gathering. Sin Cara, met him at UPW's first ever show, June 3rd of 2023 at the Boys and Girls Club in Raleigh, North Carolina. Fun fact, I myself was wrestling on that show that night, and I was in the over-the-top rope rumble match for the heavyweight title. Skinner, met him at the Gathering 2023. Slick, got him at the Gathering 2023. Sonya Deville, got her before a SmackDown taping 3 years ago in Raleigh. Steve Blackman, one of my favorites, got him at WrestleCon in Philadelphia last year. Summer Rae, got her at WrestleCon in Dallas, Texas, 2022. Sunny, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Super Crazy, got this signed last year in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Icons of Wrestling block party. Sylvain Grenier, met him at the first ever FWE show in Raleigh. Tajiri, I met him at WrestleCade 2023. Tatanka, met him last year at WrestleCon in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Tegan Knox, met her in June of this year at AML Wrestling in Winston-Salem. Terry Runnels, met her at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa. Tim Horner, met him at The Gathering 2023. Tommy Dreamer, met him September 1st of last year at UPW in Smithfield, North Carolina. Tony Atlas, met him at The Gathering 2 years ago. Same with last year, I met Tony Mamaluke at The Gathering. Tori Wilson, met her for the second time at The Gathering 2022. Tugboat, met him at ASW June 7th of this year in Beckley, West Virginia. Ty Dillinger, met him at WrestleCade 2023. The Ultimo Dragon, met him at the same show I met Barry Windham and Tom Latimer in Lexington, North Carolina in March of this year. Val Venus, met him at WrestleCade 2022. Vicky Guerrero, met her at WrestleCade 2021. Victoria, got her to sign this at WrestleCon 2021 in Tampa. Waylon Mercy, aka Danny Spivey, got this signed at The Gathering last year. The Great Muta, met him this year at The Gathering in Charlotte. Missy Hyatt, met her in January of this year at AML Wrestling in Winston-Salem. Sonny Ono, met him in March of this year at AML Wrestling with the Ultimo Dragon. Wendy Richter, met her at WrestleCade 2021. That's when I got that book signed. I have met Wendy Richter multiple times, and she is nothing short of a sweetheart every time you see her. Xia Li, met her at WrestleCade last year. X-Pac, met him at AML Wrestling in January of this year. Zach Gowen, met him at the second ever FWE show June 18th of 2022 in Raleigh. This was the show I made my in-ring pro wrestling debut on. And the last auto I have in this book is Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, and that was at WrestleCon in Tampa. So guys, that is my 4th edition Encyclopedia Auto Collection as of today, Sunday, November 9th, 2025. And just be fair warned, this book will be getting plenty more autos in it November 28th, 29th, and 30th, because I myself will be a guest at WrestleCade in Winston-Salem at the Benton Convention Center, so I'll be getting a lot of autos in it. So anywho, guys, this is my autograph update for the Encyclopedia, Sunday, November 9th, 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.